Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tradition Kitchens. I'm Julia. We are so excited to have all of you this morning, this evening, depending on what time zone you are joining us from. Hello, Midori. So good to see you from Japan, and Margaret from Boston, and Barbara, I'm forgetting where you're based. Maybe you'll unmute or put it in the Zoom for us.
Atlanta.
I think that's what I thought. Atlanta. Yep. Wonderful. So happy to have you. Welcome. We have 41 folks on the line. We would love to have you introduce yourselves in the chat. Let us know where you are calling in from. We have an international crew of people cooking along, watching, enjoying our time together in our virtual kitchens. Hello, Amanda from Toronto. It's wonderful to have you here. We have a little tradition with Tradition Kitchens. First of all, I'm Julia, and it's so good to see all of you. Please turn on your video so that we can welcome you and get to know each other. This is my fake kitchen. I have a lot of them that I've gone through over the last 2.5 years. So wherever you're calling in from, we welcome you. I love Midori's enthusiasm, waving, excited to be here. And I see Jody from New Mexico, Louise from Minnesota, Susie from Melbourne, Jasmine from Seattle, Nancy from Sarasota, Esther from Arizona. Hello, shout out to my family member. I see Shri from Hawaii. This is really fun. So if you haven't introduced yourself, if you haven't turned on your video, please do. We would love to see and get to know you all as we are gathered here to cook and learn and have a great time together. We also love to do a kitchen cam where we just give a quick intro. So I'm gonna spotlight the mother of teacher, Verinder, who has inspired so much cooking from Rash, and we're so grateful. But would you like to unmute and say hello and tell us where you're joining from?
Hi, Julia. Hi, ladies. Yeah, I'm joining from Malaysia, Borneo part of Malaysia. Yes, it's lovely to see all of you all. So excited to attend my daughter's class.
We love having you here. Thank you so much for inspiring us and her cooking, and we love to see you.
Well,
you have become extended family over this time,
yes,
which is really
yes.
special. Yeah, we all feel like we know each other, and none of us have really met in real life, which is extra special. And hello, Miriam. Welcome. Happy to see you from South Carolina. Let's do a kitchen cam. Mike, would you, Mike Bailey, like to unmute and say hello? We'd love to add you to the spotlight here and meet you.
Well, I got sketchy internet, so we'll try. Hi, guys.
Great to see you. Where are you joining us from?
North Dakota.
North Dakota? How cold is it there?
Well, right now it's in the 50s today, so it's warming up.
That sounds pretty nice, actually. Not too cold. Awesome. Good to have you. Welcome, welcome. We love having people from all around the US, all around the world. So welcome. I see Diana's here from Vermont. So happy to have you here. Let's see. I'm taking a look. I see who would like to, anyone want to raise their hand? Aaron's whole crew is waving. I think I recognize these familiar faces. Hi. Do you want to unmute and say hello?
Hi.
Hi.
We're ready to go.
Hi.
Excited.
Tell us where you're joining us from.
You want to?
We're in Rockville, Maryland.
So excited to have this multi-generational family cooking along, apron and all. Very snazzy apron. Thanks for being here. It's so good to have you.
It's
all right.
fun.
So grateful to all of our friends and family from around the world. I see Rash here. I think we might just do one more kitchen cam if anyone else wants to say hello. I'm kind of looking at you all from the gallery view of Zoom, which is quite fun. We have 51 folks here. We're expecting about 100 more. Hopefully they'll be able to join us, or they can watch the recording if they don't have a chance to tune in. Let's see. I'm looking to see Carol. You look like you are excited to be here. Could I have you
Yes.
say hi?
Hi. Yeah, I really look forward to this.
Oh, we're so happy to have you. Where are you joining us from?
I'm from Situate, Massachusetts.
Wonderful. Great to
Yeah.
have you here. Thanks for
Thank
being a part of Tradition Kitchens. All right, everybody, really, really thrilled that you are joining us. I'm Julia. Welcome. We are recording, so if you miss anything or have to drop off, you will get an email afterwards and get all the information. So I want to invite you all to flip on your video for our annual Tradition Kitchens Selfie. So right now I'm looking at a lot of boxes with names, which is boring for me and boring for Rash because we love to see you in our virtual kitchen. I said this 1,000 times. This is not my real kitchen. I have redecorated, so many times during this pandemic. And by redecorated, I mean, I have found photos online and made them my virtual kitchen. So I may change my kitchen throughout the event just so you can all feel comfortable. But we'd love to take a picture together for our social media accounts. So I'm going to call it a couple names. Steve, maybe you'll join us. May, Arlene, Celeste, Amanda, Edgar, Nicola, Jin. Come be in our virtual photograph. Yay, Diane. Way to flip on the video. And Jasmine, great to see you. All right. You all are breaking my heart tonight, but I'll take what I can get with the virtual videos on. So I'm going to count us down. 3, 2, smile at the camera. 1, amazing. And I'll take one more just in case anyone closed their eyes. So 3, 2, 1, beautiful. All right. Welcome, welcome. We're so happy to have you. If you haven't introduced yourself in the chat, we're going to hold you accountable for that because we want to know where you're joining us from and how cold it is or how warm it is. So Bob, it looks like you might be winning the cold record in Chicago with those temperatures and some snow, but please do let us know. We have an international crew here from around the world. I'm really happy to introduce Rash, who really needs no introduction. She is such a popular teacher for Tradition Kitchens, and we're so grateful that she is returning to our community to teach tonight or this morning where you are. So Rash, I will turn it over to you to talk more, and I'll put some links in the chat for everybody to learn more about you and your incredible story. And it looks like we all want to go to Hawaii, where Shreya is, because she's making us jealous. It's 84 and sunny. So Rash, over to you. What's it like in Australia?
Well, it's not as great as it is in Honolulu, let me tell you. It is getting cold here because it's autumn over here, unlike over there. So it's getting colder, but not cold yet. Like we just had daylight savings go past us, which means that's ended now. So the sun sets early and the sun rises late. So our days are shorter. The days are getting colder. So it's, it's not bad. I don't mind the cold weather, but some people prefer sunshine. So Honolulu is still the winner, I think. My name is Rash. I'm the founder of An Acquired Chef. Today we'll be doing Penang fried noodles. A little bit history about An Acquired Chef. We actually turned 1-year-old this week. So we've been around for a year now, and it's really just focused on helping people understand the art and the alchemy of cooking. So I run a whole host of free cooking classes like this one in collaboration with Tradition Kitchen. Now, I don't sort of try to tell people how to make things. I do create recipe cards, but I really like people to kind of take what resonates with them and kind of jazz up what they already make, and then leave everything else. It's about making food you like to eat and also making sure that you're meeting your dietary needs and your health requirements as well. So I'm here to show you how to make Penang fried noodles today. So take anything that you like, ask as many questions as you want. The only time I won't be able to answer any questions is when I'm actually cooking, because it's going to get really noisy and really hot. You'll see that in a little while. So if you have questions and I don't get to them, write them down. We'll come back to them at the end. But yeah, I'll get started. If that's good with everyone, perhaps a really quick check to see if anyone's cooking along with me. I know I heard aprons before. So was there anyone here today that would be cooking along?
Yes, it looks like we have.
We have all of our ingredients sitting here, and we're We got the aprons.
Excellent, Erin. And you've got the kids, the grandkids, everyone else along with you. That's fun. Great. So Erin's cooking along. Is there anyone else?
The Meredith, I think, is joining us from Colorado. I'm looking for you on the Zoom just so we can keep an eye out for you.
Not to put you guys in the spotlight, happy for you guys to be cooking quietly in the background as well, just so that I'm aware and can help along as you cook and kind of talk through ingredients and substitutions of all kinds of things. So, so Erin, and who is the second one, Julia?
Am I saying your name right? Meredith Johnson? You're on mute if you want to unmute. I auto muted everyone so we didn't have background noise, and sometimes it backfires on me. So
yeah.
she's
But
just
good
given
intention.
So
Okay.
we will keep an eye on her, and hopefully
Cool.
everyone else
So-
will cook later and tag
Yes. All good. So we got 2 people cooking along. So shout out, guys, if you guys have any questions. I'm going to get started here. Everyone should have the recipe, or at least the ingredients and the utensils that Julia would have listed in the Eventbrite registration. So I'm going to quickly rattle through those. I'm just calling that out so you guys can kind of read along with me and stop me if you have any questions. But today we're going to be doing, so Char Kuey Teow. Let me start with that. So it is a Malaysian dish, although it's not foreign to Indonesia, Singapore. It's kind of Southeast Asian. And so today we'll be doing flat rice noodles. So I'm just going to quickly switch on my camera to start going through the ingredients with everyone. I'm just going to bear with me while I set that up. It's going to share a screen and get my second camera going. And Julia's right, I have been on quite a few times teaching classes, but this is my first time this year. So it's great to be back after a little bit of a hiatus on my end. So noodles. Now, these are noodles that are available in the fresh section or the refrigerated section of an Asian market, which means they're already cooked. The shininess you see is actually just oil, because rice noodles, when you cook them, get quite sticky from the starch. The oil is laced to make sure that they don't stick together too much. So those are the noodles I'm using today. They're also quite broad. So the word Kuey Teow basically means flat rice noodles in Hokkien or Teochew, those dialects in Chinese. Another way to call it is Hol Fan, which is the Cantonese way. They're all basically flat rice noodles, and they usually come in a packet like this, and you can absolutely get the one that says pad thai on it if that's what you can find, because that works perfectly. They also use rice noodles in their cooking. Now, if you don't have fresh noodles today, or whenever you make this next time, you can also use dried noodles. So again, pad thai rice noodles are fine. The only thing with these guys is, based on the instructions in the packet, I would suggest cooking al dente, so 1 or 2 minutes less than, because you don't want the noodles to overcooked or cooked completely. That'll have it disintegrate when you're actually tossing it in the wok. And the second reason for that is also because there's a lot of sauce that's going into the noodles, and we want to make sure that it finishes cooking in the wok. So you have really nice flavorful noodles instead of rice tasting noodles. So those are the noodles that we're using today. Any questions on that? Or can I quickly skip right ahead to the next thing that we're going to be doing? Actually, I might pop those in the microwave really quickly while I wait for questions.
I don't see any questions in the chat, but if Erin, did you have a question?
I did. If we're using the dry ones, should I be pre-cooking them right now?
Absolutely, which is why I wanted to start with the noodles. Here I am again. So yes, definitely throw them in a pot of hot boiling water, lots of salt. Make sure that when you're sort of draining them out, as I said, make them al dente. As soon as it's done cooking, soak them in ice cold water for about a minute or 2 just to stop the cooking process. Let it drain and set it aside. So I'd go ahead and do that now, Erin, and hopefully you caught all of that, because that was really quick. So, but yes, so that's to answer that question. Were there any other questions?
Not yet. We'll
Perfect.
keep going.
We will. All right. So the next thing I'm doing in the list rather is, I'm just going to try to keep myself honest. I've got my list in front of me, is the 3 tablespoons of vegetable oil, 3 tablespoons of pork lard. So I'm not using pork lard today, but you can absolutely use pork lard like this one that comes, and I think it's available for you to make pastry with. So that's basically the flavor. So when I say that, I mean, in the sauce that we'll make later on, I'm going to be adding fish sauce to give it that umami flavor, that sort of meaty, savory flavor. You won't need to add fish sauce if you're using pork lard, because it already has that embedded in there. But some people have dietary restrictions, so I always suggest fish sauce or vegan fish sauce if you're vegan, instead of pork lard. So instead of using half and half lard and oil. I'll just use oil entirely today. And I'm going to be using peanut oil. Peanut oil is got a high smoking point that's going to help with the wok and the frying. Now, you can use vegetable oil. You want to stay away from any other types of oil that have strong flavors. Even sesame oil, I would not use for this particular dish. Because it's got a very distinct flavor and it doesn't kind of go with the traditional way this dish is made. You certainly can use it if you only have that available. Don't want to be using olive oil, avocado oil, any oil that has a fragrance. Not good, and also not as high a heating point compared to peanut oil. So we'll use peanut oil today. I'm going to keep going on this. I wouldn't use ghee, Miriam, because it's a clarified butter, has a high smoking point. So good question. But it's got that creaminess that we actually don't want in this dish. This dish is more of a clean sort of Asian stir fry dish. So I wouldn't use ghee. Hopefully, I mean, if you've got dietary or health concerns and you want to use ghee, by all means, go ahead. But traditionally, we wouldn't use it for that reason. Hopefully that answers that question. I'm just going to swing up and see if there are any other questions. None. Cool. Okay. I'm going to keep going. So you can use prawns, shrimp. Traditionally, this dish is made with prawns and blood cockles, which isn't listed here today because I don't typically like blood cockles. It's a type of, I guess, something in between a clam and what am I trying to say? Clam and it's just one of those native. Has anyone actually heard of blood cockles? Let me ask that question first.
I had not heard of it until you mentioned it. It sounds a little scary, gotta be honest.
Yes, it does. It does kind of throw people off as well. It's actually really tasty. So it's got a texture like clams in that the little meat that comes off from the shell is what you end up throwing into the dish. You throw it towards the end because it doesn't need a lot of cooking time. It gives that chewy texture. I'm not using it today. It takes a lot of work to prepare it as well because you got to buy it fresh, clean the shells, all that stuff. Just calling that out because traditionally that is something that is a must-have. Like, you know, your purists will say this isn't Kuey Teow because it doesn't have blood cockles in it. So just calling that out, that's not on the list today. But prawns or shrimp are great and the traditional way to add protein to this dish. I'll be using chicken today. You can certainly use beef and pork. I have velveted my chicken. So I'm going to quickly show you. It's a very fancy word, I think, because that's what they call it. But it's basically blanching your chicken in hot boiling water with salt. So you can see here, it looks cooked, but it's not. It's probably pink on the inside if I cut it open. The reason for that is because we want to do two things. One is we want to cook the chicken before we cook it, which is to say that we want it cooked or boiled before it goes into the wok. And then the second reason, it gets rid of any sort of raw chicken smell. So same with beef or pork, just a quick blanch to kind of get rid of that raw smell because we don't want that being tossed into the wok. They will still finish cooking in the wok. So whether it's beef, pork, or chicken, all I did was, as I mentioned, about 2 to 3 minutes in boiling hot water. So as soon as you put the meat in, the water will stop boiling and then it'll cook and then it'll start to simmer back up. Around the time it's simmering back up is the time to take it out, and you'll notice it's already gone white or a cooked color for the other types of meat. So that's the meat that I'm using today. I've also made prawns because I like prawns. Now, the other way in which to velvet is to fry. So the chicken I talked about doing in a sort of a boil sort of a fashion. This I've done in a velvet sort of, fry sort of fashion. Velveting when you fry is simply taking some cornstarch, bit of salt, and any seasoning. Could be, I've used rice wine today. You could use soy sauce, and you just marinate the prawns real quick for about 10 minutes, even not very long. And then you just toss that in a little bit of oil to sear it up. I prefer doing this separately, but you can most certainly do it. Have it marinating. So if you're using prawns today or shrimp, marinate and have it ready to go into the wok. I'll tell you when to add it to the wok as I'm cooking, but I have mine pre-made and sort of really pretty as well. I like my prawns on the side. So that's the proteins so far. Yes, I blanch them in small pieces. Good question, Miriam. So I actually slice them up first because that quickens the cooking time. You're not going to get a whole chicken breast, a chicken thigh to blanch into par cooked in 2 to 3 minutes. You will with smaller pieces of chicken. So good question. But yes, so for vegans, I would suggest shiitake mushrooms because it's got the chewiness of a prawn, but also has the protein and also the flavor as well. Shiitake mushrooms are a great substitute for any meat that you're using today. Cool. I'm going to keep going. So we've got lapchung, which is Chinese sausage. Again, that's made with pork, and I'm not cooking with pork today. So what I've got instead is beef jerky. So I've just gotten an organic style beef jerky made with natural flavors. So some jerkies have flavors in them. I've opted flavorless because what I really just want is the chewiness of a sausage that's in a jerky form. So really sort of dense and chewy. And what I'll talk through later as I'm making the sauce is adding some flavors to this that's typically found in lapchang or Chinese sausage that is not in the beef jerky. So that's just gonna be a really nice way to substitute with non-pork option without losing the flavor of Chinese pork sausage. Now, if you are vegan, I think, what did I say? I think you needed to use perhaps soy chunks. So soy chunks become a great substitute. You would add the same flavorings that I'm going to add to the sauce to make sure you've got the flavors there, but you could use soy chunks just to get sort of that chewiness that a sausage would have without eating meat. So hopefully that makes sense. Thank you for sharing that, Julia. That's handy. And so we're going to keep going. Now, we also have fish cake today. So fish cake kind of looks like this. So it's kind of like seared on the outside. This is one that I got from the frozen section. So you can buy that and it's already pre-cooked and you just need to defrost it and slice it up, and you slice it up and it looks something like this. So we've got some thin pieces, not very thick, like 1 millimeter tops, and they're gonna char up really nicely in the stir fry. Now, again, if you're vegan or don't eat fish, you can always use tofu. So a really great option is to take firm tofu like this, and you will kind of slice it up to be quite thin and long. So you can kind of go that way, and you would sear it on all 4 sides in the same way that's been pre-cooked, and then slice it up. So it's gonna have that outer layer of skin, as you can see here. You do that with the tofu, and it's going to be the same texture because firm tofu has the same texture as fish cake. So you don't lose out so much on the texture, and the flavor really is present as well in the dish because you're going to be using fish sauce if you're not using pork lard already. So I'm going to stop there for a second and just double check again if there are any questions, because I'm talking at a mile a minute because I know this stuff like the back of my hand. Just in case, if there are no questions, that's totally fine. We'll keep going.
I think we'll keep going.
Excellent. All right. I'm going to go through some really quick ingredients here. So this is bean sprouts. Everyone's probably quite familiar with it. You've got, again, based on the recipe, 120 grams, and that's drained. So you do want to make sure if it's been sitting in water to dry pat it with some kitchen towels, just to get all that water out, because the way this dish cooks is it needs to have as little moisture in there as possible. Otherwise, it becomes a little bit more of a soupy, saucy noodle, which is not what we're aiming for today. So wherever possible, take out any moisture. And that's what I did with the bean sprouts as well. The other 2 quick things I'm using as well today is garlic. So I've just minced up some garlic. And also over here, I've got sambal chili, sorry, not sambal, chili paste. So it's a simple chili paste. There's a link I shared with yourself, Julia, if you could pop that into the group chat. I have a video on my YouTube channel that I've recorded of making it. This is a very traditional Chinese style, maybe a bit Malay if you like, but more Chinese style chili paste. So it's actually quite mild because I've put tomatoes in it. The chili bowl, which is the very traditional Malaysian chili paste, usually doesn't have tomatoes in it. It's just pure chili and it's pure power, and it can be quite overwhelming for some. So the recipe I wanted to make sure I catered to other palates. It has tomatoes in it and a couple of other things. So you can make that yourself, or you could buy a garlic chili paste from the market and just throw that in instead. So you don't have to absolutely use this if you don't want to make it yourself. But I typically make it and freeze it. And whenever I'm cooking anything, it could be a curry, stir fry, noodles, I just defrost it and throw it in. So that's one thing that we're using as well today. The other option for the chili paste could be sambal, which is a more Malay way of making this dish. So everyone's heard of nasi goreng. Kuey goreng is basically fried noodles the Malay way. So they would typically add sambal or belacan, which is shrimp paste, to their recipe because it has that different flavor based on their type of cuisine. So you can certainly use sambal laksa. So again, Julia, I think I shared that as the second link in the message that I sent to you earlier. So if you could share that, that's another option. I've done a video for that as well. So you can actually take a look at that if you want to try and make that yourself. A couple more things and then we'll start cooking. We've got some eggs here. So if you're doing a vegan option, I just omit the egg altogether because of the way in which the noodles are prepared, and you'll see that when I cook it. And finally, we've got Chinese chives. Now, this one probably I might take a minute to talk through. Does anyone know what Chinese chives are? Because everyone knows what chives are. But Chinese chives, also known as garlic chives, a little bit different. Anyone heard of it before? I'm just going to take a look at the chat.
No, it's new to me. It sounds and looks amazing.
Yeah, no, so this is it all chopped up and ready to go. So I've cut it up into about 2-ish inches in length. So here, let me show it to you guys. I'm trying to get my visual back because it's gone missing.
Yeah,
so
I see your table,
Mhm.
and then hear you narrating.
Okay, so let me try reshare my screen again. Hopefully this works this time. So just gonna do that. Can you still see me over on the side perhaps? And then the main screen has my screen share, hopefully.
Yeah,
Cool.
it works for me. Everyone let us know in the chat if it doesn't work for you. I think I'm gonna, I was trying to look to see if I can, what's the name of your, oh, since it's your screen, never mind.
Yes.
I thought you were 2 calls.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yes. Maybe if you just want to pin me up on this, the video with my face in it on the side, if you want to be able to keep watching me talk, so that you can focus on the main event, because I'm not the main event today. So this is, hopefully you can see this. This is Chinese chives. So some folks are saying that they've seen it in the Asian market. Yes, it grows really wild in the garden. That's fantastic, Diane. They're wonderful. I actually really enjoy, I grew up with this stuff because it's got a really nice garlicky flavor to it. And you can almost use it as a vegetable to stir fry with garlic, well, not with garlic, but with maybe some tofu or some prawns and stuff like that. It's really great. Now, not everyone has access to it. So I basically cut it up into these little bitty pieces here. It looks like grass. So if you've never seen it before, it looks like grass that's just growing in the garden. And it's got the blades of grass as well. And I'll just quickly show you onion chives, so just regular chives. So that's what they would look like. So that's how they're different. So this guy's more of a blade and this guy's more of a tube. So this guy's got a hollow center, whereas this is just a flat leaf. You can use onion chives today if you don't have garlic chives. I would just double up the garlic in the recipe so that you get that garlic flavor, because today we're not adding onions, we're not adding ginger, it's purely garlic. And so we try to get that from the garlic chives and garlic. So if you have onion chives, they're still great to add in. It gives that green color in there. It's also got oniony sort of a flavor, but it's very mild compared to garlic chives. So I'd throw in more garlic to make sure that you get that flavor coming through. And yeah, I think that's it for the ingredients. Now we'll just get into the sauce, make that sauce really quick with you guys, and then we'll start cooking. Cooking doesn't take more than 10 minutes, so it's really quick. We'll do the sauce together and then we'll get the wok going. I should talk about wok hay. Wok hay is an ingredient that I haven't put in front of you. It's created in the wok, and it comes around from what I mentioned before. Basically, you don't want to have a very moist or wet noodle or any ingredients going in. You kind of want to add it in gradually to make sure that you don't create like how when you make a stir fry, there's usually a soup or a sauce going on at the bottom. In the same way pad thai is made, this noodle, we want everything kind of to just disappear as soon as it hits the wok. And that wok hay is basically that charred, fried flavor that gets created, and you'll see it start to sear up on some of the chicken and other things. And so that's an ingredient I can't show you. I'll create it for you in a second, but we'll do the sauce first. So we'll start with these guys. So I've got a little jug here because, again, I'm not going to throw all the sauce in at once. I'm going to periodically, as the wok dries up, just add a little bit more at a time. I'm going to start with fish sauce, which you do not need to add if you are actually using pork lard, but I'm not. So I'm going to go in with a teaspoon of that, I believe. Off the top of my head, I'm not looking at the recipe at the moment. So let's see whether or not I get it right. So that's fish sauce that's gone in. I'm also going in with cooking caramel. Cooking caramel is a very Asian style sauce, I guess. It's basically caramel for cooking. That's really the best way to describe it. Your next best thing is actually just to add golden syrup or to add just sugar, raw sugar, preferably coconut sugar if you have it. Some recipes call for kecap manis, which is a more an Indonesian or Malay style soy sauce, the thick one that's sweet. I would say don't use that because it's got a very different flavor. It's not to say that you can't. So say, for example, if we're making Kuey goreng, the more Malay style, you could absolutely use it. I'm doing a Chinese style today, so I'm trying to avoid that. I'd use sugar instead of that if I was going for the Chinese version. If I was going for the Malay version, I'd be adding in the sambal that I talked about before, and I'd be using ketchup manis. So some ideas there to play around with, depending on how you want to cook it. But today I'll go in with cooking caramel. Again, something that you could probably find in your Asian grocer if you wanted to go and get a hold of it. So I'm going in with a teaspoon, and it's very viscous, as you can see. So it's got that sugary sort of texture, and it's slightly savory as well. So it's not like just sugar. It's more like salted caramel if I were to try and find an equivalent. All right, so that's the cooking caramel. Now, the next couple of things that are going to go in are two things. So we've got dark and light soy sauce. So the guy on my left, the one with, oh wait, that's light soy sauce. This one's dark. So we're going to go in with less dark soy sauce. We want dark soy sauce here for color, not for flavor, because it is quite salty. So I'm going to go in with just a teaspoon. Actually, I think it's 2 teaspoons of this one, or half a tablespoon. So I'm going to go in with just that. So I just want it for color. If I put too much, it becomes too dark, the noodles. And then I'm going to go in with some light soy sauce. So that's going to be a tablespoonful. So that's really going to be the reason we don't add any salt, frankly. So it's a good dollop of soy sauce there. We won't need to season it beyond that. And the last couple of things that go in, I'm going to go in with some oyster sauce. So about a tablespoon worth of oyster sauce as well. So it's going to get some of that sweetness and that sort of viscous oyster sauce. Now, if you're doing a vegan option, you can do hoisin sauce instead. You don't have to do, or there are also vegan oyster sauces these days, so you can take a look at those. But yeah, those will be the main things that are going in terms of the sauces. Now, a couple of extra things that I'm going to add, and these are take it or leave it. So the one I mentioned before around not adding Chinese sausage, I'm going to be adding in 2 things. One is rice wine. So I'm using the white rice wine or the clear rice wine. So it's not Shaoxing. Shaoxing is the golden colored Chinese rice wine. I'm using white. Again, here I want clean flavors as opposed to anything that's got its own distinct flavor. Same reason as ketchup manis. I want something that's coming out quite clean. I'm just going in with a teaspoon of that, no more than that. And that should be perfect. And now this one might come as a bit of a shock. But one of the main ingredients in Chinese sausage is rose water. And because I'm not using Chinese sausage today, I am going to add some rose water, but like a teeny tiny amount, like just literally a drop. So let's do this together. Like that's it, like no more than that. And it's going to just give that floral sweetness that that Chinese sausage typically has, that jerky won't. And so I use rose essence. So if you're using rose water, you can add a teeny bit more because it's more diluted. But we're talking about a couple of drops maximum, because otherwise it just becomes very strong. It's quite a strong flavor in and of itself. And lucky last is white pepper. So white pepper is not like black pepper in that it's not going to lend any heat to the sauce. It's just going to lend flavor. I love white pepper, and I'm probably going to grind here for a minute or so because that's how much I love it. But you're going in with about half a teaspoon of white pepper if you have it. If you don't have it, just skip it. I wouldn't use black pepper. It just changes the flavor of the dish. But yeah, white pepper, I've talked about in a couple of other classes, I think when I did Singapore noodles as well. It's just got that distinct flavor. It's used widely in Southeast Asian food, very much so, and even Vietnamese, Cambodian food. It's just one of those, it takes me home. It reminds me of the canteen I used to go to when I was in primary school, and there's always a bottle of white pepper sitting on the table whenever I went to get my bowl of noodles to eat. So that's just a major throwback for me. But yeah, other than that, we have everything ready to go, and we're going to start cooking. So Erin and, oh, actually, there's maybe some questions in here. Yep, let's take a quick look.
Yeah, let's see. There's been some fun back and forth recommendations of what to use instead of caramel sauce. So do you agree people could use molasses or honey, perhaps?
So molasses would be a good, but I probably use half a teaspoon. So you're still going to get that really nice, thick, viscous consistency. But then molasses has a distinct flavor as well. So you don't want to use too much of it. So I'd half it, but that would be enough. I wouldn't use honey. for two reasons. Honey has a very distinct floral flavor. And so you don't want to bring that into the dish unless you really like honey and you want to make your noodles taste honey-like. And it also burns quite quickly. So honey has a very low burning point, and in the wok, it'll start to turn bitter because of the burning. So I'd avoid honey for that reason. I'd suggest sugar. Let's see, was that it, Julia? Let me just quickly swing down. Oh, cooking caramel. Yep, we can certainly show you a bottle of that again. This is made in Malaysia because it's got Malay writing on it, but that's just really what it is. It is Chinese product though. So it is something that maybe there's a Chinese name for it or different brand for it as well. So hopefully that helps. Instead of Chinese sausage, could it be Chinese barbecue pork? It could, except that I'd still add that rose water in, because Chinese barbecue pork is not going to taste the same as Chinese sausage. It's very different. But yeah, and that little bit of Chinese rice wine as well, I'd still throw that in. And if you want, because the way we're doing the Chinese sausage, it's kind of diced up to be quite small, you can go ahead and do that with your Chinese barbecue pork if you want to have that same mouthfeel when you eat it. So hopefully that answers the question. Substitute for oyster sauce is hoisin sauce, or vegan or non-meat based oyster sauces. Those would be your best options. Hoisin is plum sauce, so it's already vegan, and hopefully they make gluten-free versions as well if you need that. So yeah, I'm gonna stir this guy up and just wait for any other questions to come through. Otherwise, we're gonna start dancing in the wok in a second. We haven't added the chili paste. That goes straight into the wok when we're cooking. So I have that on the side with the garlic. I'll toss that in a second. It goes in quite early. Most ingredients will go in first, and then the noodles go in, and then a couple of other things at the end, things like the sauce as it continues, the egg and the chives come in after the noodles. Everything kind of gets charred and fried in before the noodles are done. So is everyone ready to get cooking? Were there any other questions? And maybe our other chefs, how are they doing?
Yeah, question from Meredith. Did we already add the chili paste? I don't think we did.
No, I just answered that, Julia. We're going to do that into the wok directly. So we had that before. So I might just quickly bring all those ingredients out one last time before we get cooking, just so everyone can see everything. So there we go. So that's everything that's going to go into the wok. We're going to start with the oil, then we'll do the meats and some of those guys. The chili paste and the garlic will go in with the meats. So I'm going to keep that here so we can cook. You can see as I add things in, and hopefully you can keep me honest in case I miss anything.
Yeah, and I just want to do a quick check. Can everybody see Rash's amazing spread? Okay, looks like a delicious breakfast in bed before it's finished, or dinner in bed.
Perhaps if it were cooked, it would be delicious breakfast in bed. But yes, it does look like it is a breakfast tray. It's just easier for me to move it around. So how long to soak the dried noodles? So if you've cooked that, Diane, you would just cook it as per the instructions on the packaging. As I mentioned, a couple of minutes less than the packaging recommends. So it's al dente. As soon as it's done, pull it out and soak it in cold water for 60 to 90 seconds just to stop the cooking process, and then put it in a colander, let all that water drain out, and you'll have it ready to go. So it's really, I can't give you an exact number. Some noodles are made bigger, longer, thicker, thinner. So just to follow the instructions in the packet, typically it's somewhere between 3 to 5 minutes. So I'd be sticking to the 3 to 4 minute mark. Hopefully that makes sense. All right. So I'm going to get my wok set up over here and switch the camera angle up a little bit so that we can get going with the wok. It's about to get really noisy in here. So forgive me in advance in case I miss any questions, because it is really a 5 minute, I'm trying to get to the camera above me. There we go. It is really a 5 minute, if I wasn't talking and explaining things, it would take 5 minutes. It's meant to cook really quickly. It is a very oily dish. So even though you don't see a lot of food over here, you don't need to eat a lot of this to feel full. Sometimes I have a plate of this and then I don't eat for the rest of the day because it is quite calorific in that the oil is really something that kind of keeps you quite satiated for the rest of the day. And that kind of goes back to the history of the dish. So the dish was one that was made for labor workers. So they were basically, you know, they need a quick meal, they need something that's going to give them a boost of energy in the middle of the day, and something that they can eat fast. So that's why the meal is small, and it's usually made in a banana leaf and sold in little packets. Folks would eat it and run straight back to work. So it is one of those dishes that has that history, which is why it's made that way, and also why you don't need to eat a lot of it. So just a little bit goes a long way. So yeah, I'm gonna get that wok heated up. And I'm gonna go in with my oil. So you can see that there's already smoke coming off the wok, which is how I like it. So I'm gonna go in with half the amount of oil. So I said 6 tablespoons, I'm kind of gonna go in with 3 tablespoons. The reason for that is because I wanna try and reduce the amount of oil if I can. If I don't need it, I won't add it. But also sometimes you need to add more oil when the noodles are in there, because the noodles need help separating. So I threw them in the microwave before. I'm going to give them another 30 more seconds while I fry the chicken. So I'm going to go missing for just 30 seconds, come back with the noodles, but this is going to get quite noisy, so bear with me. I'm leaving it to fry in the oil because I want it to kind of brown a little bit. It's just starting to, it's great. As you can see, I'm going to lift this guy up. So I'm really trying to get it to do that. So sometimes you can't necessarily achieve that in a wok. You can certainly do it in any non-stick wok or saute pan. You just need to get the oil really hot like this. So that's the chicken. That's ready. I'm going to throw in now the Chinese sausage. Get that going as well. The next thing that's going to go in is the garlic, just really quickly before I add the next thing, because garlic's going to burn quite fast and I don't want it to burn. Every time I'm cooking it to make sure I can smell. As soon as I can smell it, like right now I can smell the beef jerky, I'm going to go in with the next thing. So now I'm going to go in with the garlic. That's going great. I'm going to go in with the fish cakes now. And what I'm going to do with the fish cakes, as you could do with the tofu as well, is kind of just spread it around so that it gets seared along the sides as opposed to kind of going straight into the middle. You don't have to get too terribly sort of pedantic with it, but so long as it's touching the corners, that's just going to help char it really quickly. And then a top. All right, now I'm going to go in with the chili paste that we talked about before. So straight in like that, and it's going to get a little bit sizzly. You can add as much chili paste as you want. I've added a moderate amount, so it's not terribly spicy, but you can always adjust it based on your spice level. All right. So I haven't added any sauce yet. If you've been paying attention, you would have noticed that. So that's going to start getting added as soon as I add the noodles. So I have my noodles coming out from the microwave. It's ready to go in. And I'm just going to let it slide in like that. And the trick with these noodles is they're going to break very easily. So I never want to kind of go in like that or kind of push it in. I'm always going to kind of keep tossing it around, kind of like the same way when you're folding in egg whites into a cake batter. You don't want to break the air that's in it. similarly, you don't want to break the noodles, kind of keep going around and tossing it in. Now I'm going to add some of the sauce first, because that's going to add the color to the noodles. So to avoid breaking it again, I'm going to go along the lines or the grooves of the noodles so that it kind of colors it up quite nicely, so that I don't have to worry about trying to toss it around too much. That's about half the sauce that's gone in, and that's fine. Going to add a little bit more sauce there, and then I'm not going to add any more sauce for a while. I just want to make sure the coloring gets done correctly. Perfect. So you'll notice, and I'm going to quickly tilt the wok to show this to you, but every time I add the sauce, there's nothing left in the pan. It's completely dry. So I'm only adding enough to cook whatever is in the pan. All right. Now I'm going to add some bean sprouts. And again, I'm going to go around the corners to dry it up as much as I can before I toss it in. So I want to get rid of as much water as I can. And I'll leave that for now and come back to it later on.
Hey, Rash, quick question. Sorry to interrupt. Should people add the prawns or shrimp now if they're doing that?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Thank you. Yes, that you would have added that when you added the chicken in. So prawns, chicken, beef, all would have gone in at the beginning. But if you haven't added it in yet, you can add it in now because it doesn't take long to cook. You can just put it along the side so that it can cook. But if you're not cooking today, add it at the beginning along with the garlic. Thank you for that reminder, Julia. All right, now we're going to do the eggs. And so were there any other questions, actually? I'll quickly check while I beat up this egg with the chopsticks.
That was it.
Perfect. I've got 2 eggs that I've just beaten up here. I'm going to go half and half. And the way I usually do it with these noodles is, and I'll just drop the heat as well because egg cooks quite quickly. And the reason why I've said if you are vegan, not to try and replace the egg is because of the way in which it's cooked. So I'm just going to quickly show it to you. So I'm going to go in with half on this side. Really, really let it trickle down and kind of just let it sort of cook. So it becomes almost like a wok fried omelet. And I want that to kind of fry for about 10 to 15 seconds. And now that that's quieted down, I'm going to actually put the noodles over it and leave that to sear into the noodles while I do it again on the other side. So it's really hard to try and recreate this without eggs. I'm open to suggestions if there are vegans out there who know of a great substitute for eggs to be able to do this with. But in my experience, you kind of need to just use eggs or not at all. I'm going to lift that heat back up a little bit. And now I'm going to go back over to the other side. Can you see how those eggs have been added to the noodles and they're all sort of stuck together? So that's what we were trying to do with the eggs. So we're going to let that happen on the other side. And then we're going to scrape it off. And then we're almost done. We've got to go in with the green chives and what's left of the bean sprouts and the sauce. And then we're ready. So it is really quick to cook. I wasn't kidding. But it is something that I wanted to slow down and make sure everyone had the chance to understand what I was doing. So there we go. So I'm going to start adding in some of the green chives already. I'm going to add it in gradually just to kind of give them some color, let some of them cook down and some of them be a little bit more fresh. And just toss them in. Again, always going around the sides and folding it in. maybe some more bean sprouts on the side. And it really is a personal preference. And for me, you know, the wok's looking pretty dry, so I can go ahead and add it in. If the wok had a little bit of extra sauce in there, I'd wait for that to evaporate before I added any more water in. So sauce or bean sprouts, those would be the two things that have that water in the actual ingredient that we want to make sure isn't making the dish too wet, if that makes sense. I'm going to go in with a little bit more sauce just over the eggs. And I am going to go in with all of the green chives because I quite like them. I'm going to try and get it all in there. And yeah, there you go. That's all of it. Now we just have these guys. Now at this point, so I started with a very hot wok. As soon as the noodles went in, and after they were starting to get the right color, I brought it back down to sort of a low heat to get the egg in there. And now I'm going to push it right all the way back up because I want to create that final charring. You'll already see it, as you can tell. For example, let me pick this guy up. That's chicken and egg. It's got that lovely color on it. That's really what that wok hay is. So at least that's the correct term for it. All right. So all the way up on the heat. Finish up the bean sprouts along the side. Let them completely dry out before I toss them in, and we're done. That's it. We'll see how the sauce goes along the side.
It looks so beautiful.
It's really colorful, isn't it?
Yeah. How high is the wok temperature?
It's on a, I mean, I had to take a thermometer to check, but we're talking about somewhere right now that it's getting hot, about, and I'm going to say Celsius, so you'll hopefully translate this for me, somewhere between 220 to 240 at that high heat. So I think that's a lot. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, I'll be honest, but very hot, basically.
And when
It's
did
the
the fish
point
cake,
of oil.
when did the tofu, what does the tofu go in?
Oh, so it all went in before the noodles. So if that hadn't gone in yet, that's okay. Just kind of put it around the sides. Whenever you miss something, if it hasn't gone in yet, you just kind of let it char around the sides and then just fold it in. So that should be fine. And that's ready. So I'm going to kill the heat because that's all. Can you hear that crackling? That's the final touch to it. I just want it to crackle a little bit, make sure that it's completely cooked and it's kind of charring as well at the same time. But yeah, there we go. That's it. Ready to eat. Ready for breakfast. All right, let's quickly take a look at the questions. I think we might have lost Julia. Oh, there we go. Thanks, Julia. 428. Yeah, so somewhere between 420 to 430. That's pretty hot, right? Like, does that translate over to you guys in terms of the level of heat? Oh yeah, I'm just gonna quickly wipe stuff down. You still there, Julia? Can you guys hear Julia if she's talking, hopefully? Or maybe not. Thanks, Bob. Hope you enjoyed the session.
Oh, sorry. I had to run to the restroom.
Oh, okay, cool. Sorry, I didn't mean to call you out.
No, it's okay. Usually I have a backup here, but they're not here today.
All good.
So everyone who's cooking along, did we want to spotlight and show off how you're doing?
Good.
Let's see if I can do that. I might need to.
I'll stop my screen share real quick.
Yeah,
So
do you
do
mind?
that? Yeah, no, go for it.
It
Oh.
doesn't
Ooh,
look like it.
look at that.
It
Say that
doesn't
again.
look Hey.
So what do you think's lacking? Because I can't quite see it right now. That looks great. I mean, if you wanted to get a little bit darker in terms of the color, you could add a little bit more soy sauce.
Okay.
But it looks great.
Yeah.
Have you given it a taste yet, Erin?
I haven't had a chance.
So I would really quickly taste it before adding soy sauce because it might get salty. You don't want to ruin the whole dish just for the look of it. Make sure it actually tastes good. So give it a quick taste and decide whether you want to add some soy sauce.
Let's see how Meredith's doing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Oh, wow. Look at that. That's impressive, Meredith. Have you given it a taste yet? You're on mute, by the way, just in case.
It's very spicy. I like it.
Excellent. That's good news.
Thank you.
You're most welcome.
that's awesome. Really well done to everybody
Yeah.
who's cooking along. Anyone else join us to cook, or you'll cook later and let us know how it went? All right, let us know
Barbara's
later.
nodding along. Yep, that's right. Later on.
Yeah, and I'm
Cool.
gonna put all of Rash's social media also for you all.
More.
Tag her and us. Let us know how it turns out.
Mm.
My daughter and
Awesome.
son-in-law
Any
are in California, so when they come back, I'm making that for them.
Noodles.
Excellent. Well, did you have
Yeah.
any questions, Barbara? Or do you
No,
fully
no, I
understand? It's all
took
clear?
notes. Yeah,
Excellent.
thank you very much.
You're very welcome. All right. I can stop plating up here, Julia, if you want to go ahead and do that.
Sorry,
I'm just
say
conscious
that again.
I said I can stop plating up over here, just kind of getting things laid out and pretty. I can quickly switch cameras as
Yeah.
well, so I don't steal the screen share. There we go. So I've got a little plate. So as I mentioned, you don't eat a lot. It's just a small amount goes a long way. I've got banana leaf at the bottom. Traditionally, that's how it's served. It's put onto banana leaf. Banana leaf just adds a little bit of flavor. I've got my prawns as well over here. That's on the side. And I'm just going to go ahead and serve it up. And I should talk about some of these other things. So I didn't make it terribly spicy. So I do have sliced chili to go on the side. It's doused in a little bit of soy sauce. And I have lime that I've sliced a certain way. There's a video on my YouTube channel about why and how to slice it this way. But basically you do want some lime or lemon, any kind of acid to garnish the dish with, because it's going to be just that acid that cuts through some of the fat from the dish. But I'm going to go ahead and serve some up as delicately as I possibly can, all things considered. There we go. Just a little bit more. There we go. Lovely. All right. Just going to get some of the garlic chives as well. Quite like that color. And I'll throw some prawns on top and we are good. So I'm going to get one of these guys to sit over here, one of these guys to sit over here, and we're going to do some lime on top of it. And it's ready to go. So not a lot of lime, just a little bit of a squeeze. And voila. Penang fried Kuey Teow, or fried noodles. There you go.
It looks amazing. And so simple. Like, it was a pretty easy dish to put together.
And quick as well. Awesome.
Well
There you go,
done.
guys. Thanks, Mom. Sorry, Julia, you were saying something?
Oh no, compliments to the chef from Mom, always a good sign. I just was curious, any questions?
Yeah.
Looks like people are excited to make it.
Everybody is.
Well, so I think the ingredients will listed with the Eventbrite page. I'll certainly write up the complete recipe card and throw that up on my social media or YouTube channel as well. So just in case you forget or don't want to watch the whole video again, you can kind of just go off that list. But yeah, like I said, this is the traditional way to make it as, as best I can with the limitations I have on a dietary side of things. But yeah, go with what you like, have a taste as you cook it, make sure it tastes good, make sure it meets whatever needs you have from a food perspective, and have fun. I think this one's fun to make because it's quick and it's got all the essential stuff in there. It's got a bit of carb, a bit of protein, and it sets you up for the day. It's actually seen sometimes as of a late breakfast or brunch sort of a meal. So yeah. Cool.
Thank you.
Amazing.
The YouTube channel, Meredith, is just an acquired chef. But I think the link was shared just a couple of messages before. Julia was kind enough to throw it in.
Yeah, I just put it again with all the links, and we'll
Thanks,
include it in
Julia.
our follow-up email so you have it and you can click and follow as well.
Yes. So I'm conscious we're on top of the hour, Julia. I know it gets late over there. I'm starting my day, so I could go for another 30 minutes. But was there anything else? Well, actually, I'll hand back to you while I start eating.
Yeah, dinner for breakfast.
That's it.
So do you want to stop sharing? I think, and
Oh,
we
yeah.
can wrap up for everyone. Thank you so much, Rash. This is amazing. If you have the ability to unmute or share an emoji reaction, let's give her a heart or a thumbs up or a party horde, or just like seriously, round of applause. So amazing. We love learning from you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much. That's great. It's always very makes me very happy when folks find value in what I have to share. Yeah, Kairun, peanuts are awesome. They're great. You can even use fried onions as a garnish as well, because there's no onion in the dish. It gives a bit of crunch as well. Great thought. Yeah. Amazing. Thank you, guys.
So much praise in the chat. We missed you. So
Yes.
happy to have you.
Which takes us to our next class.
Yes, tell us more. When will you return and teach with us? What topic? I know we're working on the date.
Yes, we're working on the date. We'll take that one offline. But I'm sure most of you that are from the States probably have heard of grits, and you know what grits are. It's corn-based product. There is this dish that Mom used to make that's very close to my heart. I call it South Indian grits because it's the simplest way to explain it without trying to explain it, if that makes sense. So instead of it being made from corn, though, it's made from semolina, which is the cream of the wheat. So it is a breakfast dish. It is something that is not gluten-free, but it is vegan. And it's got a lot of spices and just delicious ingredients that go into it. So it's kind of like grits in that way. It's kind of like, I would term it kind of like an Indian porridge, I suppose, if you like. Not oats, but again, with semolina. It's really flavorful. It's like this. It's another sort of a complete meal in a bowl, and very tasty, very big on flavor. So that's going to be the next dish that I cook, and we'll work out when next. But hopefully, I know there's a big craze with South Indian food, and I wanted to make sure that I was doing something that was sort of in step with what's happening in the world, but then also something that's actually quite close to my heart. It's one of my favorite dishes. So yeah.
Well, I can't wait. We'll figure that date out to share with everyone. And then we will be doing a pie, probably pecan pie at the end of this month. So something sweet for spring. So stay tuned for more details. And yeah, we have about 2 to 3 classes a month, and they're all free because of our community and people stepping up and teaching their family recipes or favorite foods. So just want to invite everyone on this call. You could be a future teacher. Some of you were past teachers like Shri and others who are here. So let us know if you want to teach with us by replying to our reminder emails. And we'll see you soon. So thank you so much again to Rash, and we loved having you. Oh,
I'm on mute. Thank you again for having me. I'm looking forward to the next class. The pecan pie. Was it pecan pie?
Mhm.
That sounds incredible. I've not mastered pies yet, so I'm definitely going to be tuning into that. But yes, and then we'll figure out a date, and you'll hear about our next class for South Indian grits. But yeah, I look forward to seeing you guys again soon. And I echo Julia's sentiment. I think we all spend a lot of time in the kitchen. If we're on this call, we're definitely doing that. So share. I think that there's so much that we know. Sometimes we take it for granted. So don't be afraid to put your hand up and run a cooking class. It's always fun to learn and share through the community. So appreciate it, Julia.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Julia.
Afternoon.
Take
Bye-bye.
care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.